How are you this evening? Glad to join
Good.
you.
How are you today?
Excited. All these bright minds around me. I can learn something today. God bless.
That's the goal, is to learn something today.
That's right. So I hear we are coming in from all around the globe here. Is that correct?
We are.
Yes, we are. We're all in different states, I believe. And thank you, Council Member, for joining us. It's so good to see you.
Same here. Same here. God bless.
So, Crystal, are we letting attendees in? Are we all good to go?
Yeah, they can keep. Yep, attendees can keep coming in, and we are going live on Facebook, so we are more than ready to get started.
All right, awesome. So we're going to have Letitia Stewart start us off with our welcome address.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Good evening. It is such a pleasure to have everyone joining us today with everything that is going on in the world. It feels like we've been in a bit of craziness ever since February and March, and with this latest round of everything going on with Black Lives Matter movement and police brutality, these subjects keep for our community again and again. And we have addressed them before. It's come up, we've talked about it, but I feel like, and I think a lot of people have that same feeling, that this moment in time is a little bit different than what it has been. And because of that, I think this is a wonderful moment to have this conversation and to spark not only the older generation, but to get our young people involved. It is time. No movement is going to actually have movement without our young people engaged. And that is why iRaise took it upon itself to initiate this, as well as we hope some more upcoming events. But this Black Lives Matter Youth Engaged event is specifically for our young people, to let them know that they are supported, that we are having these talks, we're having these discussions, and that they have to be part of the process in order for change to come and to take place. So again, thank you all for being present today and for being part of this process and part of this really an educational moment for all of us and for our youth. So just to talk a little bit about the organization itself and iRaise, we have been in existence since 2012, founded by our wonderful CEO, Ms. Shanequa Moore. Our mission is providing a holistic program aimed at improving oops, sorry. I think we skipped ahead a little bit. Oh wait, I think the slides are going. Well, about, the social emotional well-being and educational outcomes of youth ages 4 to 21. So we've been working in under-resourced communities, specifically within the Bronx, also doing some outreach to Brooklyn. And our goal is really to reach every single borough in New York City. And we will do that. We absolutely positively will do that in the coming years. But it's really, we are about working with young people. Our communities are disadvantaged, unfortunately, and it's due to these racial injustices and racial disparities that have taken place in this country for so long, so many years. And it has resonated throughout all of these generations, and our young people now are impacted. So iRaise is really about focusing in and targeting those young people that have been suffering and whose families have been suffering as a result of these injustices. So we want to do what we can to bring some awareness to, if we can, to the situation, and really get our young people motivated, get our parents motivated to join on with our cause of increasing the wealth and the prominence of our communities.
Thank you so much, Letitia. At this time, I think your computer may be freezing up a little bit, Letitia, but thank you. That is our executive director. And as Letitia stated, our mission really is to improve the outcomes of young people of color in New York City and beyond. We do that through comprehensive programming, through mental health and counseling, through art and education, through mentoring programs. And we love what we do. We have a team of dedicated staff that work with our students and our children day in and night. We have hundreds of children that we serve right now, and we serve close to 500 kids a year in New York City. Recently with COVID-19, we've been stepping up to the plate. We launched a COVID-19 hotline on June 8th, providing referrals and resources to our parents that are in need. We have also launched a whole entire COVID-19 response program where we've been providing virtual programming to hundreds of children in New York City, in Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and the Bronx. And so we are very proud of the work that we are doing. And again, thank you, Letitia, our executive director, and I'm sorry your device froze out. At this time, we're going to have Campbell jump in, and she's going to be introducing myself and Samantha.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Moore, for having me on board. And I would like to thank everyone who's coming as well, or who is already here. Thank you, guys. I am Katelyn Campbell. I am the program specialist here with I Raise Girls and Boys International. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce Shanequa E. Moore. And I'm going to read her bio. Shanequa E. Moore is a thought-provoking leader, visionary, and advocate in New York City. She is the founder and CEO at the I Raise Girls and Boys International Corporation, where she has devoted 100% of her career to serving vulnerable and disadvantaged children, youth, and families for the past 16 years. She has extensive experience in clinical and policy practice in multiple settings, including clinic, school, law firms, and government. Ms. Moore obtained her bachelor's degree at Nyack College in psychology, where she graduated magna cum laude, and her master's degree from Columbia University School of Social Work in 2010. Ms. Moore was a member by pioneering Women of Excellence in the field of social work, including Mary Pendergreen during her internship at the Jewish Board of Family and Children's Services, where she helped expand and undergo organizational racism. Diane Higgy during her internship at COFFCA. Jenny Crawford during her internship at Bronx Defenders, and Jane Waldefrey, her academic advisor at Columbia University. Ms. Moore's recent activities include develop a comprehensive mental health program model for children in New York City public schools, where over 1,000 students and providers with mental health and support services, as well as launching of a Montessori preschool program with the New York City Department of Education in Staten Island. Ms. Moore is a frequent speaker at faith-based and social work functions and serves on the National Council of Negro Women Board as third youth vice president in the Bronx. Ms. Moore has served as a youth pastor and ordained minister in the Bronx over the last 4 years, where she has spearheaded education and spiritual initiatives and activities for her communities, youth, and families. Additionally, Ms. Moore dedicated her time to several volunteer projects, including providing disaster relief for Hurricane Katrina victims. Ms. Moore's love young people extends beyond the borders of the U.S. She has devoted her time to serving orphan children and destitute families in South Africa, South Asia, and South America between 2006 to 2011. Ms. Moore's aspirations are help to reform education in New York City, the child welfare and juvenile justice system, and improve the quality of life of immigrant children and low-income families. Above all, Ms. Moore is a loving and devoted mother to her 8-year-old daughter, Genesis, who shares her mom's passion and aspires to be just like her when she grows up. Thank you guys for that. And then I will also like to introduce.
Can anyone hear me?
Hello. I will also like to introduce Samantha Chisholm. Samantha Chisholm comes from a family of 8, 6 children and 2 parents. She's a senior in high school, Harry S. Truman, to be specific. She is 16 years old and a part of iRace Inc. She is the iRace Inc. ambassador. And I am your co-host this evening. So without further ado, I would like to present Samantha Chisholm and Ms. Shanequa E. Moore.
Thank you so much, Catherine Campbell. That's our program director. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. So we're excited. We want to jump right in. I have Sam. She's also one of my mentees. She's also a volunteer with iRace Girls and Boys International, and I'm excited to be co-hosting with her tonight. We have some lovely and amazing, phenomenal and inspiring panelists. We have our council member, Andy King, and we can just give a shout out to him right now. He's one of our dedicated funders who has been so faithful over the last 8 years and just supporting our cause. And we just want to say, Councilmember Andy King, that we absolutely love you. We thank you for all the work that you are doing. You've been trailblazing the path for us and really just setting the trend for us to follow. We appreciate your work. We love you and First Lady King, and you know we got your back no matter what. And I'm going to say that on Facebook, let the haters
Thank you.
So we have BREAION King. I am so honored, BREAION King, to have you with us. I was just sharing with Councilmember King a few moments ago on the phone that we actually watched your documentary, Traffic Stop, in my position with the National Council of Negro Women in the Bronx, New York. We showed your documentary on behalf of, it was like Black History Month. We had kind of like a film and chat. And my heart really was pulled from that documentary, and I had to reach out to you. So I am so happy that you thought it not robbery, Ms. King, to be with us. And, you know, sometimes people, you know, they don't reach back out to you, they don't respond, but you were not like that. You were very humble. And I appreciate that, Mrs. King. You responded to me right away on LinkedIn. It's like, let's talk, let's chat. And so when all of this stuff was going on, especially with the recent death of George Floyd, I had to reach out to this phenomenal woman. She is amazing. She's a singer, she's a dancer, she's a teacher, she's an activist, and we're so excited to have her with us. For those of you that have not seen her documentary, I admonish you to purchase it on YouTube, or you can go on HBO and watch it. It is called Traffic Stop. And that's me and Samantha just watched it, Ms. King, before we got on today. So we were watching your documentary all over. So we do have some fresh questions for you. So thank you for being with us. We also have Katelyn, who is Miss Arizona. She's one of our volunteers, and we're excited to have her. We're going to give each of our panelists an opportunity to speak about themselves and to talk about their background and their work. But before that, I would like to read the bios of Councilmember King and BREAION King. If we can pull up Councilmember King's bio. Oh, BREAION King, that's fine. You can. Okay, thank you. So New York City Council Member Andy King is the council member of the 12th Council District. He was first elected in November 2012 by 80% of voters. And in November 2013, he was reelected by the majority to his 4-year term. A native of the Bronx, he has graduated from Evander Childs High School and received a BA in Communications from William Patterson University. Andy King always had passion for youth. He has contributed to his father's youth basketball team, Kings 5. He worked as a New York City child protective caseworker and with his wife, Neva Schillingford King. He has created the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program. He is also the Bronx lead organizer for the 1199 SEIU GNYHA Healthcare Education Project. King piloted his bill requiring the Department of Education to develop materials containing information regarding college savings plans. The council passed King's legislation calling on the federal government to add language that directly negates the 3/5 clause by stating that African Americans are 100% whole individuals, and declare March 5th as 35th Cloth Awareness Day in New York City. And this is just the beginning of his work and the beginning of his bio. Councilmember King has continued to trailblaze many initiatives right in our community, not just in the Bronx, but also in New York City. And he'll talk more about the work that he has been doing. So at this time, we're going to open up the mic to allow Councilmember King the floor and the spotlight to talk about, to give a background about himself and to share anything he'd like to in the next 3 to 4 minutes.
Wow, thank you, Shanequa. It's Ms. Moore. I want to say thank you to all the young folks. Well, matter of fact, we all young on this. I don't want to get everybody get confused. We all young folks up here today, all right? Some are just younger than others, that's all. But God is good, and I thank I Raise Girls and all the sisterhood and the brotherhoods that are on today's conversation. Shanequa, it's a delight being on here. I've known you for the last 10 years when you started I Raise, and you came to a Bronx Youth Empowerment Program meeting back over a decade ago, and I'm glad that today you stayed the course, because longevity is the fruit of commitment, and people don't understand that. They start a movement today and they can't carry the torch over the finish line or pass the torch on, and it fizzles out and dies. So all the work that someone has done is left in vain. So I applaud the work you're doing. I applaud the work, Sister King. I'm looking forward to hearing your conversation, and of course, to all the bright minds of on today. You know, I claim not to be the smartest mind today, so I want to sit back and listen to you all so I can learn and be a part of today's conversation, and where I can share whatever wisdom that the Lord has blessed me with, whatever energies, whatever experiences. I will love to be able to do that. Together we will grow in this movement of saving lives, all lives, particularly Black lives. Thank you again. God bless.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, for that lovely introduction. At this time, I'll be reading the bio of BREAION King, and we can turn it over. Thank you. BREAION Shania King is a proud graduate of Houston Towson University, where she became a lovely lady of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. She was a prominent leader on HT's campus since her freshman year, participating in campus ministry and activities. Beginning the still running praise dance ministry, Precious Jewels, in fall 2009. Studying abroad twice, BREAION went to teach in China in 2013, then Cambodia in 2015. Graduated from HT as a first-generation college student with honors. BREAIN continued her education, overcoming obstacles, adversities, and barriers with a master's from Texas State University in 2017. Ms. King has been a guest speaker on several panels, as well as radio talk show Come and Talk It on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Traffic stop persona, BREAION King used her display of consternation to become a voice and liaison for her baby's students, her community, and the people in it. She shared her story and was blessed with the opportunity to have her documentary nominated for an Oscar. Her story rattled the Austin community and made both national and international news. Choosing to stand in love and advocating for a better training, love, and self-care tactics. BREAIN marvels at the chance to help people and make a difference. She continues to be a voice for those who don't have one, serving as an advocate for students on her campus as well as teachers. She serves as a mentor to the youth, teachers, as well as a mentor to young adults, teaching young girls how to deal with their emotions in a positive way, with how to use their voices to take a stand. She continues to strive for greatness regardless of the thorn in her side, knowing God is with her. Can we give it up for BREAION King? That's amazing. And at this time, I introduce BREAION Shania King. Please spotlight her. We'd love to hear in a few moments anything you'd like to share in the background about yourself.
Well, good evening. I am BREAION Shania King. I am grateful to actually be here. I'm honored to be here. I'm thankful that you guys chose me and that you saw me and you felt the need to actually reach out and you felt that I can actually be of assistance. So I'm greatly appreciative, and I look forward to being able to hear different points of views and different stories and everything like that, so that we could continue to grow and we can live.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Ms. King. Very concise and very powerful. At this time, I'm going to have Samantha introduce our next panelist, and that's going to be Katelyn. We can go to her bio, and my co-host Samantha will be reading the bio of Katelyn.
Okay. Katelyn Kai is a student in Basis Scottsdale in Scottsdale, Arizona. She is a member of French National Honor Society, Speak and Debate, Tri-M Honor Society. Katelyn is a co-founder of Invest in Her. She's also politics enthusiast. She is Miss Arizona's Outstanding Teen 2019, Civil Rights and Social Action 2018 to present. She has raised $1,258 for CMNH Network, did over 150 plus hours of community service. She is first runner-up at Miss America's Outstanding Teen and a winner of overall Academic Life Award and preliminary evening gown and on-stage question award. She is a member of French National Honor Society, Speech and Debate, Tri-M Honor Society. This is Katelyn Kai.
Thank you so much. Can we go? We can have a few words from Katelyn.
Hi, everybody. I am so thankful for I Raise Boys and Girls International for giving me a chance to speak today. Being a teenager, you're not always able to get on these panels or get people to listen to you, and I'm grateful to be able to share what I have to say. That being said, I am young. I can't pretend to represent every single teenager across the United States. So I'm ready to sit here, learn from my amazing fellow panelists, and listen to some really interesting questions and advance the discussion on race.
Thank you so much, Katelyn, for that. We're happy to have you. Can we now go to Shania's bio? And please, Sam, if you can read her bio.
Okay. Shania Chisholm. Oh, should I start with, okay. Shania Chisholm was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. She is a freshman at Lehman College, a young self-employed tutor, cosmetologist at I Raise Inc., and a future young entrepreneur working to influence younger generations. She aims to change the narrative about young children. I'll also add on something about Shania. She's an amazing sister and individual. All in all, she's my sister. And she has taught me how to love myself, because I used to dislike myself a lot. And she taught me how to increase my self-confidence and everything, and self-esteem, and I really appreciate her for that. She also loves to deal with kids and help kids in spite of how they act, because she wants to see the best for them and not the worst, and I love that about her too. And if she's mad at other people, she tries her best not to take it out on everybody else, which is a good thing, because it'll ruin your blessing if you choose to let your emotions take over everything in front of you and all things around you. So I like how she puts her emotions into dance, singing, art, and other things that she likes to do. That's all I have to say. This is Shania Chisholm.
Thank you, Sam. I can feel the sister love over here. That was beautiful. I would love for my sister to introduce me the same way. Shania, a few words from you, please.
Did she?
Is she a panelist? Has she been a panelist?
Oh, there she is. There she is. Here she comes.
Okay. We can spotlight Shania.
I'm here. I wasn't spotlighted. Hello, everybody. My name is Shania Chisholm. I'm really surprised to be on the panel. I'm honored because I've never expected this. But my goal is to come across all of the troubles and struggles that we've had. Come across the struggles and troubles that we had, especially with everything that's going on. It's traumatizing, honestly, and it's made me sad to see that our community has come to this. And I feel like everything that we're doing now with the protests and riots and speaking up has been long overdue. and I'm really happy to talk about it and try to make a change in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shania. We appreciate that. So let's jump right into it. We have only an hour left together, so we want to hear from our panelists. So our first question is going to be first asking Councilmember King, and if you can answer this in 1 to 2 minutes. And what ways do you believe racism has affected the Black community?
Well, racism has affected the community, and it's something that people have to recognize, and now we're starting to recognize it. Racism has been the makeup of this country, and while, regardless where you live in the United States of America, especially in northeastern states like New York, I'll claim New York City, where we have a beautiful mosaic of individuals from all over the globe, we tend to believe that everything is okay. But when you step out to some of the rural areas in the state of New York, or my family's from the South, Alabama and Georgia. So I've witnessed racism face to face up, you know, a Caucasian person just think that it was okay to just totally disrespect me or disrespect my grandmother just because of the color of our skin. I watched it institutional. And so when you understand America, you understand racism is the makeup of the United States of America. And you mentioned earlier in my bio that I was able to get the city council to pass legislation that adds language, asking Congress to put a 28th Amendment to add language that totally negates the 3/5 clause, which sets the tone for race relationships in this country, where our whiter counterparts who were sitting at the table, who made all these decisions, who made the rules of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but Black folks were not. They're slaves at that time. And that was the start of them coming together and say, hey, listen, these people are not equal to us. And that same attitude is prevalent in economics, healthcare, housing, banking. So right now, is it in our system? Yeah, and I'm thankful to, everyone has a reason and a season why they're on this planet, and the horrific death of George Floyd just kicked a lot of people in motion. And I'll end with this. It's no different than when the civil rights movement happened, when Bull Connor in Alabama, when white America saw the dogs and saw the hoses being sprayed on Black children and Black people, they realized, wow, something is wrong. We must do something now. Because at the end of the day, their reality wasn't the Black reality in America. So racism is something that's in systems. Racism is something that has been taught, and racism is something that we can do away with, but everyone has to do their part to kill it.
Thank you so much, Councilmember King. It was a very thorough answer. And just to reiterate, racism really is a system. When we think about racism, sometimes we are a little confused. We think that minorities can be racist, and the reality is we can't, because we don't hold the power. Racism is a system of power, right? And it's something, like Councilmember King said, that has been since the inception of this country. And so sometimes we are thinking that this problem is very insurmountable, and it in fact sometimes is, but it can be tackled. But it is a system, so it does require systemic changes, systemic solutions. And I know, Councilmember King, you've been very influential with the 3/5 clause in just pushing that through. And I know it's been a lot of fight. And I know I recently came to one of your events not too long ago that you do every year, just standing strong and fighting for that, and we need that. So thank you for the work that you're doing. The next question is for BREAION King. I'm watching your documentary again, BREAION King. There were some new, fresh questions that came up. And for those of you that don't know the documentary, again, it is called Traffic Stop, and BREAION King is the star of that documentary. I noticed at one part of the documentary, BREAION, you were in the cop car. You were arrested at this point, and you began to have a conversation with the officer. I think it was maybe the second officer that arrived to the scene. And you started engaging in a conversation with him about racism. And you asked the question, do you believe there is still a thing as racism? And I think that the officer had responded, yes, but it goes two ways. And then you went on to talking to him very civilly. And then I think that one of the responses from the officer was that the reason why Black people are treated like that is because they're violent. They have violent tendencies. And I thought that was something that really struck me, especially considering the fact that you were just assaulted by the police. And so after it was almost like a double whammy. It's like, okay, I was just assaulted, but I'm being told that my people are the ones that are violent. So that was something that really struck out to me. But in your opinion, Ms. King, can you tell us more about the perception of Black people being viewed as violent, and can you speak more to that and then how it has affected you in your life, specifically with the incident that happened in 2015?
If we go and you check the statistics, you see who actually has the highest percentage of violent tendencies. And I always tell people that, and you go do your research, because, you know, that's all you need to know, is that we do not have the highest statistics as violent assaults or criminal in that aspect. So I always tell people, just go check the statistics of who has the highest account of violent tendencies. And because he did tell me, he said 99.9, which is completely not accurate at all, have violent tendencies. So it kind of really hurt my feelings. But what I do have to say is that, for a fact that, we're angry. And it's like, if we were violent, why wouldn't we be? Why wouldn't we not be okay with being angry with everything that has been done to us? We have constantly had peaceful protests, and like Mr. King said earlier today, we've had water hose pushed on us. We have been shot. We have been killed. We have been brutalized. We have been overkilled. We have officially been choked out. We have been shot for no reason. We've been murdered in our own homes. So why would we not be angry? But what I can say is, from what I've seen as a people, is that we love, and we love regardless. And we have really, really kind spirits, and we are very, very forgiving. And so with that being said, it hurts my feelings to hear that we have violent tendencies. Yes, I understand if we're angry. I understand that we're mad. I understand that we are disappointed in the way we have been treated for years. It didn't end with slavery. And it continues to go on each and every day. And so we still are traumatized from that slave mentality, and we still have to deal with that, because, like he said, we are still considered 3/5 of people, but we are human beings. It's sad when dogs get more rights than we as Black people, or just we as a people in general. To hear him say violent tendencies, give me a poor statistic that really didn't line up with what the FBI says and what national statistics say, it was a kick in the gut. It was.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. King. And another question for you: when you were in, I watched the scene several times when you were in the car and you were being pulled out by the officer very violently and just thrown to the floor. And I can just remember, the fear in your voice, and it was a cry. And as a Black woman, I cried. That was a cry for me. And so, like, in that moment, what were some of the things that were going on through your mind, or what are some of the things, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Well, I tell people, how they say you got, like Spider-Man says he has spidey senses and everything like that. It was kind of like that for me. I became detached. I had to detach myself from the situation in order to live. It was like I was sitting there and I was watching myself as this man continued to throw me around. I remember asking him, I said, please just let me get out. I will get out myself. Just let me get out. I will, whatever you need me to do, I will do it. But by that time, it already escalated and elevated, and there was no coming back. To me, I don't think that it was a race issue. And I say that to the day, not with him. It wasn't a race issue. I feel like it was a power issue. And that's what the issue is that sometimes people have too much power, or they feel like their power is being taken away. And so in order for them to feel like they are in control, they use their power.
Absolutely, and definitely, yeah. And speaking to the power issue and on the topic of police, this question is for you, Councilmember King. I know that there's been a lot of talks with defunding the police, especially in New York City, and in regards to police reform. Can you speak to us a little bit about your perspective and your ideologies on that?
Well, as a God-fearing person and a person who reads scripture and understanding a little bit, and trying to move in such a way that's non-controversial within truth. And some of the things people don't like to hear, they don't want to hear the truth. When we start talking about NYPD, and actually after I finish this, we're having our big budget vote on the budget, and there's been the cry to defund the police because of police activity. I'm not one that says that the police department needs to be defunded, dismantled. I do know the bad officers need to be gone. If you don't get it right, if you don't get it right, you should be gone by night. Period. And that's how it has to work, because when things happen and the world gets chaotic and the community needs some type of support or system or, of course, of crime, after you call on Jesus, what you do? You dial 911. So don't get confused about when people start talking about we got to defund. Well, let's figure out how do we get rid of the bastards. Not everyone is qualified to be a police officer. Not everyone is qualified to be in law enforcement. So just like every person is not qualified to sit in a third grade classroom and teach kids, not everyone is worthy of yielding the shield and badge. So what does that all mean for us in Black communities and the communities above? Well, again, we understand how law enforcement came into play. It really is an extension of the slave system, where you had those individuals who were responsible for managing the slaves. When slavery was allegedly done away with, then you had to still maintain a sense of order over those slaves. That's how law enforcement continues to grow in the United States of America. They have an agenda to make sure that they move the power structure and protect the power structure with new agendas to say that they're supposed to protect and serve the people. Well, if that is the case, to protect and serve the people. If you aren't able to do that, I'm sorry, go sell Amway, sell sneakers, whatever it is, but you cannot be a police officer, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We have family members that are law enforcement, and it's disheartening for a brother or a sister who is a law enforcer who tries to stand up for someone who is law enforcement but gets knocked down by the system within law enforcement. So that's a whole systematic change of racism. Again, when we're talking about racism in America, well, listen, all these systems from law enforcement to education is deeply rooted in it. And if law enforcement is genuinely true, as they're getting a wake-up call right now, then they'll realize that we get it wrong from time to time and take ownership. Majority of the time, the United States residents just want to say, hey, if you got it wrong, own up to it. Don't get it wrong, and then everybody want to cover it up. And then if officers try to stop somebody from getting wrong, they get punished for stopping a bad apple. That's where you have the problem when it comes to law enforcement. So I ask us all to stay strong in it, and I ask all systems, as we're doing in the city of New York today, we will be voting to remove some of those individuals and removing funding that allows law enforcement to be where they are today, but shifting it where we can put money in that people are developed, people have access to better social skills, they have access to better economic opportunities. So if you put money in the front end, you don't need them on the back end. So I think we're doing what we can do with the budget. And I say to every law enforcement across the country, to every state that has their ills, if you get rid of the bad seeds and hold people accountable, like the accountant who messes up, or the teacher messed it up, or the salesman messed it up, if you let them go at day one, if they can't get it right, you got to be gone by night. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Councilmember King. Absolutely. Big believer in putting resources back into our communities so that we're addressing the root of the issue and that we're not being proactive, we're not being reactive. I think a lot of times we're more reactive than proactive, and we don't put enough preventive measures in place to make sure we're dealing with these systemic issues. So thank you so much for that answer, Councilmember King. My next question is directed to one of our youth panelists, Shania. As a young Black woman, in light of all of the recent racial injustice that has been coming to the forefront, can you tell us and speak to us about what are some of your fears, or what are some of your challenges or internally that you've been dealing with and hearing, and just being a young person today?
Before it goes to just being a young person, as a young Black female, you get looked at at a lower standard, and this is mainly the reason why I want to own my own business rather than going to work for somebody, because they see your color before they actually get to know you. And I feel like that shouldn't be a judgment, because we all bleed the same blood. We're all the same underneath, past our color. And I really feel like judgment shouldn't be the thing. I feel like a struggle I've dealt with is constantly being looked at, and automatically somebody's like, oh, I know she's going to be trouble. Or they'd be like, I know she's not going to fit the what I'm looking for because of how she looks. I've probably applied to what 5 to 10 jobs before I actually settled down to do my own tutoring and other businesses. But I realized that if I don't meet their expectation of what meets the eye to them or what looks good to them, for example, having my hair in a puff, right now it's braided, but having it in a puff isn't neat. And in my head, that doesn't make sense, because somebody could come to work with a messy bun because their hair is straight, or they can come perfectly the way they want to. But if I come with my hair that I took probably 30 minutes brushing my hair up, combing and making sure it looks nice, doing my edges and everything, when I come in with a puff, I come in with, let's say, an afro, I'm looked at as not dressed properly or not fitting to the expectation. And I feel like, honestly, that shouldn't be. I feel like it's disrespectful. And I feel like it's also degrading, because that all falls into self-esteem. And I've dealt with a self-esteem issue from a young age. So coming up, and as I'm getting older, I'm realizing certain things aren't going to slide. Certain people are not going to have the same sympathy as when I was younger. I have to realize I have to be responsible. I have to also be able to control my reactions to certain things. Some people tend to make little comments of, why does she look like that? Why does she sound like that? Why is she like that? Do you know me to ask who I am? Unless you know who I am, you cannot ask me who I am. You cannot judge me based on what you see. And I feel like that needs to change, honestly, especially with the expectations that are supposed to be met in certain jobs. If I'm a businesswoman, if I wear my suit, if I dress up and I'm looking just like the next person, but my hair, but my skin color, but the way you see me, the way you judge me changes or makes a difference, there's something wrong with you, and there's something wrong with your standards. And honestly, I feel like anybody who has to judge based on those things should not be in office or should not be at a high level. You may have worked for it, but you obviously have no standard to stay where you are.
Thank you so much for that, Shania. Definitely, and we're happy that you're such a strong young lady with, great sense of confidence, and continue carrying that with you. I think that's really an example for all of the young people that's watching and that's listening right now. So thank you for sharing that. You talked about self-esteem issues and different things that I think a lot of our girls of color deal with. I know Breon King also mentioned it in her documentary about colorism, and something that's really real, right? Within the Black culture, where a lot of times those of darker chocolate skin like myself, right, where we are taught that we're not as pretty as those that are lighter. And because of that, having self-esteem issues as young Black girls. And so we have to keep encouraging our young people and continue pouring into them, letting them know that they are enough and that they are beautiful just the way they are, and celebrate dark skin, right? Celebrate it. I don't like to say celebrate Black beauty, because it kind of just takes off the meaning of it, but celebrate beauty in its essence, and whatever color that is. So thank you, Shania, for sharing that with us. I'll give now the mic to my co-host, Samantha. She will ask the next question.
Okay, I have a question addressed to Katelyn Kai. What ways can we civically engage young people and empower youth to be leaders of this movement? I'll rephrase the question, or I'll say it again. What ways can we civically engage young people and empower youth to be leaders of this movement?
I think that the phrase "I stand, but I will never understand" really resonates with a lot of young people, because if you aren't Black and you aren't African American, you really don't understand their experience. But one way to really get youth engaged is to have them talk to their Black peers, get them to understand the BIPOC movement and why it exists. Because I will never get it, and I understand that I will never get it, but because I know that, I am willing to march, I am willing to go out and do these panels and try to do what I can, because we have to empower those who aren't part of the movement to get it too, to really start legislative change and to get youth really invested in this issue. Because I don't want my generation or my kids to grow up in a world that's filled with racism and hate. We need to find a world filled with love and acceptance.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Katelyn, for that. And we appreciate just your wisdom as a young person. And I think, it's very important, as she had mentioned when she started, that a lot of times we're not willing to listen to young people, but I always say that movements happen when we have young people at the forefront of the movements. You know, we talked about the young people being hosed down during the civil rights movement. That's when attention and legislation started changing, when young people were out there. And so we value you young people. We want to hear your opinion. Your voice matters to us, and that's why we're doing this panel. So at this time, I have another question, and this is going to be geared towards Councilmember Annie King. And my question for you, Councilmember, is do you see any ways racism has impacted our child welfare system and the disparities of children of color in foster care? In what ways have you seen racism impacting our child welfare system? And that could be in a national context. It doesn't necessarily have to be locally, but in what ways have you seen racism impacting our child welfare system?
First, I want to say to Katelyn, thank you for those words of trying to marriage to come by y'all moments. My granddaughter's named Katelyn, so right on, right on. And to Sister Chisholm, don't worry about it. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. All right, don't worry about it, okay? Black is beautiful. Black is definitely beautiful. Well, when we talk about racism when it comes to our children and to the welfare system, I was an ACS worker for over 10 years. And one of the things that I recognized from time to time doing investigations, how certain white families were treated in regards to Black families, Black, Hispanic, and Asian families. When reports came in, how we were quick, systems were quick to put Black children in foster care, where there was strategic plans to make sure that children stayed home with their white families. And I was a caseworker that said, no, I would like to help mom and dad get right so the child doesn't have to come into foster care, because no one will really take care of your child the way you should be taking care of your children. Just not everyone has learned to be a parent, and being a parent is a challenge, you know, especially if you have one kid, let alone if you got 5. So I would say the system has trying to figure itself out, because they were giving more money based on who was coming into foster care. So when you look at the numbers of kids who are being placed through, especially in the city, we're talking about the city of New York, you know, welfare is welfare. Again, it goes back, how do we empower people? Well, if you don't empower people to tell them that my child at 4, they're smart, they're beautiful, they're queens, they're kings, they're knowledgeable, they're great, they're smart, they're beautiful, with the mindset to grow up to be a successful human being. Well, if you've grown up in a system that everything that everything that's Black and dark is desolate, everything that you do is worthy of nothing. Well, we got to keep maintaining the welfare system, and you can't have a welfare system, a child welfare system, if you don't have any children. You know, the biggest thing that the welfare system should be doing is making sure children got it together so there isn't a welfare system. But if you do that, you know what happens? People start losing jobs. So, and then all the administrators start figuring out what they're going to do. So again, it's almost like the incarceration system. If you don't have anybody locked up, you ain't got no jobs for people to be locked up. And we know who makes up over 80% of the incarceration system in the United States of America is Black and Hispanic people. So if you want to talk about institutional racism, it goes from the cradle all the way to the grave. So when we're talking about administration of children's services, I won't just sing out the city of New York, but welfare altogether, then we just can't readily just say, hey, listen, we're going to give a Black family as money every time they have a child, they get additional money to have a child, knowing they're not working. You know, how we continue to make ways to make it so easy to get on public assistance. I learned public assistance is supposed to be that public assistance, not public dependent. That means if you get on, you're supposed to get yourself together to go out and make sure that you're a productive member of society. But if grandbaby watches grandma do what she does and mama do it, then the recycle continues. It continues and it continues. But I will say this, when you leave out of urban areas, look who are the numbers of people who are on welfare. You know, it's not necessarily the Black and brown person when you look at the totality of numbers, but we've become the face of things that go wrong in this country. We become the face of ugly messaging. And as we became the face of COVID, we've become the face of the child welfare system. So that's how we got to change this, the institutional racism, that if we're going to do it right, the goal is to help people, not label them and stigmatize them for the duration of their lives.
Thank you so much, Councilmember King, for that answer. And I definitely am very passionate when it comes to the issue of child welfare and keeping and preserving our families as much as possible. And like you mentioned, instead of tearing families apart when it's appropriate, diverting resources into that family to strengthen that family unit so that we are preserving families, we're preserving Black and brown and minority families, which we know is definitely something that we have to work on and we have to get better at, not just in New York City, but nationally. Our next question is going to come from Samantha, and I believe it's going to be directed to Ms. King.
Okay. My question is addressed to BREAION King. How has your life changed since you were assaulted by the police? And in other words, how have your views of America's governmental system shifted since your unfortunate encounter with the police force?
Triggers. I have constant triggers all the time, especially right after the incident. My body went into tremors where I had PTSD. And so for me, it brought up a lot of traumatic things. It brought out a lot of things in me, which, it really hurt because I'm a lover and I love people. And so that's why my whole thing has been, get them mental help, get them the support and everything that they need, because I understand that they're out there and they're doing a job that, like I said, I'm not going to do. I'm not going to get out there, and I'm not going to be a police officer. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't have it in me, but I understand that as a human being, that's not the position or the job for me. And so for other people, they should understand that too. I realized I have to be honest with myself. I looked at myself and I said, oh my God, BREAION, you're Black. You look at yourself in the mirror every day and everything like that, but I didn't realize that it could happen to me. I seen it happening and I knew it was going on, and, you research and your history, but I think my people perish from the lack of knowledge. And so what is happening is our knowledge is being taken away from us and it's being stripped, and we're forgetting where we came from. And so you think that, you're a good person, you're educated, you're doing what you're supposed to do, then everything is going to be okay. But the truth of the matter is, it is not. I know that, like I said, with him, it was a power issue, but it was an issue that he constantly did. And for the system to not see that this man was violent, and for my video to go up several different levels, been seen by several different people and administration, and for them not to say anything, the issue is with them. The issue is within the system, because they see that they was like, oh, it's okay. Oh, that's fine. Well, she, he was chilling in her car and cool with her, but then all of a sudden, she said, okay, can you please hurry? And he got angry. So it's like, they have to see that they are a part of the issue. One rotten apple does spoil the bunch. And it is good cops and officers that are out there that are telling on other officers, but they're being fired. So it's like, what do we do in this situation? We have to cut the head off the snake. It's the systematic issue. It's the people who are in charge who need to be taken out. We need to build a community and a panelist of communities within each and every community to be able to actually sit down and delegate what the cops are supposed to do, because they're supposed to protect and serve. We are here. We pay them to be here for us. We shouldn't have to live in fear. We shouldn't have to police ourselves. If that's the case, we don't need to pay them. I do not think that we should defund the police officers. I don't think that at all. We need them. But we also need them to do their job. If I'm a poor teacher, if I am a poor janitor, if I am a poor real estate agent, I'm going to get fired. And we have no accountability when it comes to this system. And that's what is happening. We're getting people who are being put in jail for crimes that they did not commit, and they know they did not commit them. It's a systematic issue. And it's like, what are we going to do to get to the head for them to see that this is wrong?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, BREAION King. I know before I jump in, I'm gonna let Sam, she wanted to ask a follow-up question, and I'll jump in right after her.
Yes, so adding on to this question, when viewing your documentary, I also caught on and was impacted by the fact that you're also a dancer who puts emotion into your art, as do I, because I'm a dancer myself. And I really use the emotions that I have kept inside of me and put it into dance. And I can't imagine it being taken away from me due to unnecessary force, which caused your injuries for fluid to build up in your wrist and your knees and everything. And I want to know, how has it impacted your art? How you express your art through dance? Like, does it hurt when you dance and everything? And do you use any type of anger or hatred or like any type of emotion that you have from that incident and put it into your dance? That's all I have to ask.
I dance in order to cleanse myself. I don't dance for anybody else. So when I dance, it's whatever it is that needs to come out, because the truth is, it's like, no, who wants to be angry? I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be upset, but guess what? We're going to feel those emotions, because those are the emotions that God has given us to feel. And it's okay. So it's like, what are you going to do with that? So yes, I take and I put all of my emotions in there. I dance through pain. I dance through trauma, because it helps me. That's a way for me. It's very therapeutic to me. So my friends used to laugh at me because I had a professor who was just like, she was so ugly to me. And I literally looked at her and I walked off and I just went and I started dancing. Or like I went and I started singing. When you sing and when you dance, they release different endorphins within your body to kind of help you feel better, feel good endorphins. So you do whatever it is that is positive for you to be able to come out on top. I will never stop dancing. I dance in the car. I may not be able to move like I used to or how I have the desire to, and how I really want to. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to let anyone take away the joy that I get from being able to express myself through dance and through song, through music, and just through watching other people, express themselves through music.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for that, BREAION King, and for expressing that so eloquently. And I know that I can imagine the trauma. You mentioned that word trauma, something that's real. And a lot of us don't realize that we have trauma. Because it sometimes is a taboo, and it's something that it's something that we just don't like to talk about, especially in the Black community. But a lot of times, many of us are suffering with trauma, and sometimes we don't know how to identify it. There is a concept, I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but it's actually called post-traumatic slave syndrome. And it talks about the trauma of Black people intergenerationally and what we have endured over the centuries. And it explains a lot of the behavior and a lot of the systemic things that we still see today. And it's a very well thought out research concept by Dr. Joy DeGury, and she talks a lot about that concept of trauma. And I do believe a lot of us Blacks, and minorities, we do suffer from trauma, right? Just being in a country that was not initially laid out for us, and that constant fear that you talked about, right? We shouldn't walk around having to fear for our lives. You had mentioned, BREAION King, in your documentary that you got away this time alive, but who's to say the next time you will? So that sense of fear and that sense of having to survive, that being something that a lot of minorities, especially our Black men, also are dealing with, that constant fear. When you're driving and the cops pull over, you don't know if you're going to make it out alive through that situation. And, we see what happened recently with George Floyd, and how that's just triggered a lot in our nation. And so thank you for that, for those words, BREAION King. So my next question is for Councilmember King and for BREAION King and whoever else would like to answer. It has often been said that as Black people, our skin color is the weapon that police officers fear. Do you agree with this? Yes or no, and why or why not? And I'll repeat the question again. It's often been said that as Black people, our skin color is the weapon that police officers fear. Do you agree with this? Yes or no, and why or why not? Starting with Councilmember King.
Briefly, I'm not going to say I believe that they fear. They've been taught to hate. They've been taught to hate us from generation to generation. I don't care how much training someone goes in law enforcement, sensitivity training, whatever. If you've been taught to hate, if your grandpapa was a hater, if your great-grandpapa, mama was a hater, you're going to be a hater. You might come out and say, well, I forgive them. Well, you know what? You still enjoy your white privilege Would you be willing to trade places with me today? If you're not willing to trade places with me in my beautiful brown, black skin, then you are a hater. And people have been taught to hate. And I stop with this. I asked the question when we celebrated 50 years of the civil rights movement with Congressman John Lewis. And I asked the question, if John Lewis is still around in Congress, where are the bigots and the racists that he was fighting when he was 25 crossing the Pettit Street Bridge? Where are they today? They're still in Congress. They're in law enforcement. They're in government. So if you want to change the system, you got to get rid of those old heads that are still around who are still managing the rules of the game. So no, that behavior is taught. When you see a little white one and a little black one get together and hug at 2 years old, they don't know hatred yet. But by the time they get 5 and 6 and 7, well, mama, great mom, big brother say, we ain't doing this that way. All right, so I stop there.
Absolutely. Something, right, you said it was very powerful, right? That is something that it's like it's in our blood, right? You're taught this. You know, you don't born hating, you're not born to hate people. We're the way we've been designed to love. So like the analogy of two-year-olds, black and white, they're not seeing skin color. They have not yet been taught to hate at that age. And so it is something that we are taught, right? That whites are taught, and so it becomes embedded in your ideology, in your system, in your heart. And so that's why it becomes really difficult. Like you said, it doesn't matter how many sensitivity trainings that we go through or that they go through, that, you know, that's not addressing the root of the issue. And so I have a follow-up question for you really quickly, Councilmember King, because I know that you love working with young Black males. And I know that right now, a lot of our young Black males are either angry or are just really upset, especially with the death of George Floyd. And a lot of them are just afraid. And so my question to you, Councilmember King, is how can we engage young Black males who are afraid and who are angry at this time? How can we hone on their emotions and engage them civically during this movement?
Love. And I'm talking about love from the elders. I'm talking about love from mama, you know, and if mama's not in the house or if daddy's not around, we have a responsibility. If our young people are not from our loins, someone gave it to us when we were growing up. One of the things that Blacks had to do growing up in America through the period of slavery, as well as the civil rights and all the hatred in this country, it was a form of survival that families took and stayed. As Blacks stayed united and stayed strong and we started learning one another, the system started ripping us apart. We have to tell our young brothers and sisters that you are loved, and we gotta get together with them regularly. We just can't talk to them when something is wrong. We gotta engage them before things go left and right. So all my brothers and sisters who are out there fearful, I say to the adults who are getting it right, who are learning to get it right, embrace it. Let's walk together in this whole movement. Let's walk together in this essence of the world. Let's walk together to show that we can do this together. We don't need anybody else to tell us how to manage our existence. We just need to tell everybody our existence matters. You have to respect our existence, and we're going to love each other, because the change starts at home. Because if I walk out of my house and I'm just going to say, and Malik is twisted at Malik too, then you know what? It perpetuates all the anger and hate that other people look at us, whether they come from, people come from India and hate Black people. They have no idea, never sat down with a brother with an afro, but all of a sudden you discriminating against me. Now you got my young brother who was 16 years old trying to figure out, because the opportunities in my community are lost. I don't have access to good things or better things, but more importantly, they feed me all the stuff that destroys my body, destroyed my dad, put me and my dad away, or killed my brother, killed my cousin. So yeah, I would be fearful too. But the biggest thing that's going to get us through all of this is that we got to make the sacrifice within ourselves and say, I'm going to flush a lot of stuff, and I'm just going to show my brother and sister love. That's how we're going to get through it. I'm going to encourage the next brother to when I walk with it, high five, because when a brother gives another brother high five and give him a pound, you giving him love. You know, that's what you're doing. Same thing with a sister. Sister, don't hate, don't play on your sister, don't talk about it and say, I got you, sister's full of love. Once we get to a place that we're genuinely true and loving each other, the fear is going to go away. People are going to start fearing the love that we've had for each other. Because right now, they're not fearing us. They got us fearing them, because they know that we're not in love and sync with one another. Young brothers, love yourself and then love somebody else.
Very powerful, Councilmember King. Thank you so much for that. And just echoing what you said, and earlier what Ms. King had mentioned, she said that, you know, the fact that we do love and how forgiving we are as a people. There is a scripture that says that perfect love casts out all fear. And you did mention love being the answer. And I do echo that love is the only solution that will help us through this very ugly, situation of systemic racism and racism in our country. It is how we can begin healing as a people when we show love one to another and when we are loving ourselves. And so I definitely agree with you that is the answer. My next question is for you, BREAION King, and it is, how do you believe the faith community and the church can be involved and really support our journey to healing as a community, as a Black community?
We need to be honest with the situation and what really is going on. I'm not going to lie. The church that I attended to was a majority of Black church. And I went and I told them what happened to me, and they looked at me like I was crazy. And it was a church I went to since I was 16, and I would go there by myself. I would walk there by myself. So it was kind of hard, but I have to remind myself that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness and principalities in high places, meaning we're not fighting physical people. We are fighting spirits. That's right. And so we have to be mindful that while we're fighting these spirits, you need to know, like he said, you need to know that you are loved. You need to know the love of God. And that's what I want to tell people. Do not give these people power. God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but a peace, joy, and of sound mind. And so with that being said, it's like, there's nothing that a man can do to me. Yeah, they can take your life, but you shouldn't be fearful of that, because that wasn't given to them. It was given to God. And I'm going to just say that right there. And I understand, like, the things that had happened to me, I wouldn't wish it on anybody else. The things that I've seen, the things that I've witnessed, I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. And to just go through it, like I said, I pray for the families of, I have to pray for my family, because I know they're like, oh God, she's going through it. But I pray for Sandra Bland's family. Like, that hit so close to home. I pray for Trayvon Martin's family. I pray for everyone's family, because we are all going through this, not only as a nation, but as a people and as individuals, especially the ones who are closest to them. George Floyd's family told them, this is not a hateful march. This is nothing but love. And that's what we have to do. We can conquer everything in love. Love conquers all. Love covers a multitude of sin. So as Congressman King said, if we come together in love and we unify, there's nothing that we can do. God is not the author of confusion. So therefore, whenever you don't understand and you don't like what your brother is doing to you, you need to take a step back and you need to realize that maybe this is a way for them to separate us. Because if we come together as a unit, all of us in love, oh baby, there's nothing they can do to stop us. It's going to be nothing but powerful. You cannot cast out evil with hate. You can only do it with love. So we need to love ourselves. Don't be afraid to love yourself. It is okay. And in loving yourself, you can honestly and truly love others, and you can love them from purple to green to orange and yellow. It is okay to love, but you have to be accepting of love first. And a lot of times we are angry and we are upset because we don't understand the love. You don't understand how great you are. You don't understand how amazing you are, because no one told you that you were beautiful. No one told you that you were handsome. No one told you you were kind, compassionate, sweet. But you were thrown into a world where you have to be aggressive, or you have to feel like you're aggressive. Or when you say something, instead of it coming off as passionate, they say you're angry. So it's kind of like being mindful in love and being open to what other people have to say without being easily offended, because your story is not my story is not, and it's okay. But as long as we come there at the table and in order to fellowship and understand, that's when the change actually happens in the community, the church. It used to be the church, school, and family. And that's how we made it. Church, school, family. We was getting education at the church, at school, and we was working at home too. So it was like we worked together as a unit. And what we're doing right now is we're pushing politics out of the church. But the truth of the matter is, Jesus wanted us to speak in politics. He's not okay with injustice. And so for us to sit back and be like, oh, well, we're sad that this happened, but for us not to try to incite something, to try to start a positive movement, to not start, prayer circles and just different ways for people to come together and gather in love, there's an issue with that. We cannot hide the issues. We cannot be blinded by the situations that are going on in this world and be like, oh, well, Jesus is good. That's not okay, because God is good. But guess what? Jesus turned over the table in the temple too. So faith without works is dead. We can't sit up here and say we want God to change things and we're sitting around and we're not doing anything.
Absolutely, BREAION King, and that was very powerful. What you said, definitely the church not taking a back stand and not being silent about what's going on. When you were talking, I was thinking of the story in the Bible when Jesus turned over the tables in the temple, and you said it, so we were like on the same wavelength. But absolutely, we need the church during this time, and we, a research has shown historically in present day that religion, and specifically with Black people, has been the highest protective factor that has kept us. And so, not counseling, which I am an advocate for counseling. I'm a licensed social worker, but counseling wasn't number one. Recreation wasn't number one. Number one was religion. That was the hugest protective factor that has been keeping Black people and minorities for so many years. And so, just to echo your sentiments, that the church is needed during this time, and we do need our spiritual leaders to rise up and to take a stand with us during this movement. And love is definitely the answer. I thank you for that. Thank you so much. So I want to ask that same question to Katelyn and to Shania. What is needed during this time for us to heal and get through this systemic racism that we've been fighting for so many centuries, from your perspective as a young person? And we can start with Katelyn and then with Shania.
I'd just like to start and say that I feel like I've been through a church service just by sitting through this panel. Thank you so much for sharing your opinions and your beliefs, because it has truly affected me, and I'm sure it's affected everybody who's listening, to help people really understand what's happening and how we need more love in this world. I think for young people, we just need understanding. There's something in our culture where we lack empathy. We lack the appreciation for diversity, especially being from a state like Arizona, where there isn't a lot of diversity to begin with. It's so easy to distance ourselves from problems that minorities face and be like, oh, that happens in other places. It doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen to me. It doesn't happen to my friends. And so for us, it's really crucial that we seek out understanding with our classmates, with our students, with our mentors. And we see this kind of language from our leaders, the language that you, Ms. King, and Councilman King have given us, that language of love, and to really just accept that.
Thank you so much, Katelyn. And Shania?
I would like to say that, to piggyback off what Ms. King said, you mentioned that unity and love is strong, and it brought me back to my first semester in college. I had a class, and my professor, she kept telling us to remember and keep mind of the fact that the white supremacists tried to create the lost cause, and that was when the slaves were no longer slaves. They were freedmen, and they had created their own land, the promised land. And when the white supremacists saw that they were getting together and creating their own community, they didn't need them. They didn't have to go to them for nothing. They had their own, and they built on their own. Even if the land was not fertile, even if the houses in the area was dead, they still brought life to it. And that gave them their strength. And from there, the white people saw how strong they were. And I guess when they saw them building and basically moving forward in history, they tried to erase it, and they tried to make an excuse for what the South was doing and building on the slavery, even though the North didn't want it. And you mentioned unity, and I feel like when the white supremacists saw that they were getting stronger, they realized that the separation is key. Within the system, I realized that our communities, for example, I grew up in the Bronx, And in my area, it was a lot of gun shooting. It was a lot of killing. It was like every other week, every other month, you'd see an awning of a young child that died from being on the street. And it was sad. And I feel like they saw that the key detail into separating us was getting us to hate each other, was getting us to not want to be around each other, was getting us to make it normal to laugh about simple things, to cause conflict and not peace. Once we don't have peace, we can't move. We're stuck. We're stuck in history. And we've been stuck for a while because we don't understand, because it's normal to not read books. It's normal to not know your history. You know your history, you're doing so much, they laugh at you like you're a nerd. You're not a nerd. You want to know your history so you can make a change. So when my professor said this to me, I looked into it and I realized that they know that we have power. They know that where we come from, if we knew the power that we had, they wouldn't be able to touch us. If the white people, if the white supremacists were able to stay by themselves, most of them would have probably died off or hurt themselves, because they know that they need us, and that's why they're trying to keep us, not for diversity, but a sense of control, because they know we know how to make our money. They know that we know how to make our own things. They know that we can thrive on ourselves. And I feel like they tend to extract that from our community, and it's sad. And where I grew up, it's normal for kids to basically be on the street, not want to learn. It's normal for kids to not be, for example, in politics, to even know about this information. And it's sad in my eyes. And I feel like we should make a change and make it an actual thing where it's needed for kids to know their history, to know the real history, not just about Martin Luther King, not just about Harriet Tubman, but the things beyond that. Because I didn't know nothing about the lost cause. I didn't even know that the white supremacists were trying to erase our history of growing to make themselves look better. And when I found out about that, I said, so basically they're trying to do that right now. Every time we take a step forward, they push us back 10 times. And even when we get in front of them and they get mad, they find something to pull us back like a rope. And someday, it's coming soon, we're going to cut that rope and they won't be able to touch us because we'll be way far ahead. And they'll be the ones stuck. And I'm honestly waiting for that day. And I'm going to be so happy when it happens.
Thank you, Shania, for that. We definitely felt a lot of passion coming from you. We are getting some questions coming in from the audience, and I want to be able to get to their questions. So this is a good question that's coming from Kwame, and it says, I know the situation is a serious reality in the world, especially in the USA. So what are the new strategies for our generation to deal with it and bring change? And any panelists can answer that.
Can you ask that question again?
So I know this situation is a serious reality in the world, and specifically in the USA. So what are the new strategies for our generation to deal with this and bring change?
First, I'll be brief on this one. In order for young people to figure out strategies, first they have to realize their existence. Whatever that existence is for you, whatever your realities, and then they must form their strategy. We do ourselves a disservice. And one of the things I've learned when I formed the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program is empowering young people to use their minds to navigate themselves out of whatever challenges that lay in front of them. So often adults lay out the platform, and what might have worked in 1950 may not work in 2019 or 2020. So I would urge every young person, look inside yourself and find out what your reality is that you want to change. Find out what it is that you need to really connect with, who you need to connect with, because a black 17-year-old reality different than a white boy's reality, a white 17-year-old reality. Even though they are 17 and 17-year-olds do some of the same stupid things, but in this world, they get held accountable differently. So you have to realize what your reality is to figure out what strategy works for you.
Thank you so much. That was a really good answer, Councilmember King. So knowing what your existence is and knowing your reality. And I think that also goes back to also some of the points that Shania made in terms of like knowing your history. I think, you know, I had a good conversation with my family members maybe a month ago. We were talking about the fact that there were a lot of things that we didn't know about our history until we got older. You know, I'm a certain age, I won't say it online, but I went to the Black History Museum a few years ago, and there were just a lot in Washington, D.C., and there were a lot of things that I did not know about my history. It was not taught in the textbooks. It wasn't taught to me in school. And, you know, going into that museum and watching and just seeing certain records that were still in possession of our country concerning slave names and the number of slaves leaving slave ports and how many slaves survived, and just, you know, those brutal facts of history that were not necessarily taught to us, you know, that brought a new understanding of my reality as a Black woman in America. And I think that goes back to your point, Councilmember King, knowing your reality and your existence. And I think that's a good answer. And thank you for that.
You're welcome.
May I follow up with what you said, please? That's why I say, you know, my people perish from a lack of knowledge. And like, this is my opinion. This is the way I feel. I don't believe that we should be tearing down, you know, the Confederate flags and all these racist monuments, because we're going to forget. They've already stripped us of our history. History should be taught in the schools. Everybody's history should be taught in the schools, period, point blank. But the truth of the matter is we have to teach our history at home, because we're not taught. Like I said, I had to look at myself and I was like, oh my God, BREAION, you're Black. You know, it's not that I didn't know that I was Black, and it's not that I didn't know some of my history, but sometimes we feel like we've made it. So it's like, oh, there's nothing else we need to do. We're good. You know, and when we don't know our history, history will repeat itself. If you don't know where you came from, you can't know where you're going or what you're trying to get away from. And so I'm going to say in the state of Texas, they have changed it to where they're saying we came in as indentured slaves. That is absolutely not true. And if we allow people to, within our school systems, to change big things like that, you know, they're hurting and they're hindering our kids, and they're hurting and hindering the kids from actually understanding what America was built on. Blood, sweat, tears, but a lot of blood.
Thank you so much for that. Oh, sorry, go ahead, please continue.
Oh, no, but it's just, we just have to be more mindful. But we as a people, everyone should be teaching their history at home, period. They have people talking them up and telling them, oh, you're great, you're this, you're that. You know, you come from this is your ancestor, this is your ancestor. They can go back in their lineage. We are still struggling to find who we are and struggling to figure out what our lineage looks like and what we want to do. So like he said, we need to know who we are, what our reality is. And from there, you go forward and you move forward. Millionaires become millionaires because they find a problem and they fix it.
That was so well said. And just going back really quickly to your point, and then I have another question for you from the audience, Ms. King, but going back to your point of not being able to trace our lineage, and I think that's a huge, I think, you know, that's what really makes it really difficult to be able to really understand your history, right? The fact that as an African-American woman, and I'm still, you know, to this day trying to figure out what African-American means, you know, I still haven't really mastered that concept, which is something that's been put on me, right? And so, you know, the fact that I can't trace back my lineage, I have no idea what tribe I came from, you know, and I think that goes back to our history tracing and also to our identity as a people. And so I think that's something that's really important. I am a strong believer that if our records are still somewhere in archives in Congress, we need our records. I would love to trace that, my ancestors, where it came from. I'm sure those that are on the call that maybe also labeled African American want to do the same. And so thank you for that. But definitely when there is a problem, you do find a solution. And that is what differentiates those that are not millionaires from those that are. So thank you for that point, BREAION King. So we got another question from the audience, and this is coming from Gian Vicente. And I know, Ms. BREAION, that are you an English school teacher? Is that correct?
I was a math and science teacher. Right now, I am a stay-at-home wife and mother.
Aww, I love it. That's beautiful. So this question would be for you, because I know that you do have a master's in education and you were a teacher, and I know you adored and love your students. This question is coming from Gian. It says, what specifically can teenagers do to impact their school community and spread love and understanding
through their social media platforms? Also, what are generally good impartial sources of information? So I guess the first part of the question is, what can teenagers do to impact their school community and spread love and understanding, specifically through social media platforms? And then the follow-up would be, and what are generally good impartial sources of information?
So what I believe teenagers could do is learn to love and accept yourself. I'm not going to lie. I'm grateful for my mother, because a lot of people just like, oh, she cocky. Oh, no, baby, I'm not cocky. I'm confident because I know whose I am and I know who I am. So you need to know who you are and whose you are. You need to be okay and comfortable with who you are. And when you are okay and comfortable with who you are and you love yourself, you can go ahead and you can show love to other people. You know, so the biggest thing is to learn to love and accept yourself. You know, you accept the good with the bad, you know, like, okay, well, I got some things to work on, but, you know, I'm good at this and I'm great at this and I'm great at this. So always remember to pat yourself on the back for the positive things that you are doing and the moves that you are making, and start with that. And that'll help you kind of open up to be open to more people. And so with that being said, when you learn to love yourself and you learn to be able to actually communicate with other people, oh, baby, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm going to tell you that. And you'll have people, and I'm just going to be honest, you'll have people who do not like you just because you love yourself and you're okay with loving yourself. You know, you'll have people who don't like you because you love other people, even if they don't love you or treat you right. And it's okay. Be okay with who you are. Be okay with who you have been created to be. Do not allow this world to change you and to make you into what they feel you are supposed to be. Do not let them put you in the box. And that's what's happening. Social media, people are getting on there like, you know, I'm this, I'm that. But the truth of the matter is, the people are probably absolutely miserable. So don't believe the hype. Love yourself enough to know that it is okay to be who you are. It's okay to be in your skin. It is okay to love you. And it is okay to love other people too. Don't let anyone take that from you. And just me, I enjoy pouring into other people. I love telling other people, random people on the street, they see me, I was like, oh, girl, I love your dress. Oh, look at you, you're looking fly. You know, like, talk to other people. I'm from Austin. I'm an Austinite. So I guess, you know, we're open and it's weird and stuff like that. But I've never had an issue with telling another woman, oh, girl, you are gorgeous. You are beautiful. Oh, I love your hair. You know, or, you know, seeing a man on the street, oh, you're very handsome. You're a very attractive young man. I don't care doing that. And if you feel something within your spirit, you know, even when I talk to other people, I'm like, hey, sweet girl, you know, I love your little puff balls. But sometimes God has given you that spirit to be able to tell them that, because that's what that person needs to hear. So whatever you do, do not be afraid to be you, because that's how you were created to be. That's who you were created to be. And that's the first thing. Don't believe any of this social media hype. People are not as happy as they say they are. People are, if anything, just super duper miserable. So what you need to do is love yourself, be okay with yourself, and do what you can, if that makes sense. And resources and everything like that, get a book. People can't, like, you got to go through and get some old school books, half-price bookstores and everything like that, because all of this knowledge and all of this information is out there for you to get it. But I'm going to say on certain platforms, they have a tendency to stifle it. So you have to also be mindful. That's why I say go grab a book. They say you want to keep something away from a black man. Write it in a book. That's right, baby. So that means we got to start opening up these books. Like, it is okay to read. It's okay to read. Expand your mind, expand your horizons, but learn your history and know where you come from, or else it's going to repeat itself. The social media stuff, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. Yes, platforms is good to communicate and everything like that. If you want to put yourself out there, just go out there and be you. Sorry, I'm gonna have to go get the little one in a second. But she
Mama
not
duty's call.
I know. She like, not today, mama, not today. But just my biggest thing is just love you, baby. No matter what, all of you guys out there, I'm going to tell you this. I love you. I haven't even met you. Some of y'all, I met you. Some of y'all, I will never meet in my life. But if you don't feel like there's not one person out there who loves you, I'm going to tell you, BREAION King loves you. And I genuinely have a love for you all, no matter what, okay? So just know that there's somebody out here who loves you and appreciates you. And your life does matter to me and whoever you are. So be okay with who you are. It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you.
That was very powerful. We are out of time, but I'm just going to take one more question from the panelists, and this is directed to our young people. And so if Katelyn and Shania can answer this, it's coming from a step parent. It says, I have a question for the young people. As a step parent of a biracial teenage queen, in this current climate, it's not easy to speak up and not required. What gave you the courage, or what was your empowering motivation, or what can you share into your engagement in this movement? So I guess the step parent, she has a biracial child, and to the youth panelist, she wants to know what gave you the courage to speak up? What made you speak up during this movement?
So for me, originally I'd be quiet. I usually write down my thoughts. I'm a writer and an artist. That's how I express myself. But speaking wise, thank you to Miss Moore and my family as well. We talk about these things to become aware. My parents don't hide things from us. If there's something out there that we need to know, it's better they tell us than somebody else tell us a lie about it. It's better that they open our eyes before we go outside and somebody whispers in your ear and tells you something total opposite, because your parents never mentioned it. So my parents always let us know what's happening, and they'll ask for our opinions. They ask for our opinions so they know that we have a good understanding, and they'll see what we would do if we were in a situation of what's going on. For example, let's say I'm out by myself and I'm being watched by a predator, or I'm being targeted by somebody because of how I look. They specifically put me in a scenario so that they know, and I also know what to do. And not saying that I'd never be in a situation because I'm always with my parents, but even if I was in the situation, I need to know what to do. And speaking up wise, I used to be very quiet, and I didn't really speak to much people, and I saw that has an effect as a young person. And when I work with children, there's a lot of children who are quiet and they don't like to speak up. So if anything was to happen, you would never know. So I like to create a good environment. I had people in my life who created a good environment to speak up about certain things, so you can not only get answers from other people, but understand yourself in different ways. I like perspectives. As a child, as a sister, as a daughter, as a cousin, I like looking at from different angles so I can change somebody's life. I can influence somebody's life to be better and to feel comfortable to speak up about certain things. Right now, I probably wouldn't be here if I wasn't in the programs that I was in. For example, I was in Yep with Mr. King, and he had us also in another panel, I think 2 years ago. And it was beautiful. I was shaking on stage, but it was beautiful to actually speak out and ask people about certain things we have a problem with. I feel like it's very good to make it normal to speak up about problems you have. Now, don't sit silent, because when you sit silent, nothing's going to get done. When you push forward into it to make a change, you're definitely going to see something happen. Whether it's small or big, it starts off and it grows from there.
Thank you so much, Shania, for that, and Katelyn.
I would say, as a parent, don't underestimate how much teenagers or even young kids know. They are paying attention. They can sense the energy and the movement that is building around Black Lives Matter and diversity. And they probably have a lot of things that they want to say. So please just be open, be listening for your children, because if you want to speak out, you have to be able to talk to the people that are closest to you first. I have been blessed with an amazing family who has always encouraged me to speak up. And so please understand that when you are a teenager, you are very conflicted and confused, even if you have people in our lives who can let us know that it's okay to talk, because we don't always trust ourselves to do it. So please just be there and encourage your daughter or son to be around people that will do the same.
That was really powerful, and exactly what I actually wanted to touch on and to end with, the fact that we do need mentorship. So for that parent out there and for the other parents here, we do encourage you to get your child registered into some type of mentoring program. I know Shania, she's also a part of the National Council of Negro Women. youth group that I am the youth president for. She's with us every Monday in mentorship, learning about these techniques of how to speak publicly, how to hone on your gifts and skills. And so there are programs out there for you parents. Take advantage of them. Most of them are free. If you have questions, if you're in the local New York City area and you are interested in registering your child for one of our programs, we're happy to take them, to love them, to build them up, and to help them be their best selves. And so parents, if you're watching again and you are trying to get your child to speak out, a lot of that starts in the home. So encouraging your child, like Katelyn said, creating that atmosphere and that space to be able to allow your child to be themselves, and then finding programs that would help your child hone in on the skills that they have. And so I would just ask our panelists to leave one word of wisdom for the audience out here and for our young people, starting with Councilmember King.
You're on mute.
There's some feedback in someone's.
There we go. As I always say, and I keep it simple, people pay attention to people who participate. Just participate in your life, whether it's your grooming, whether it's your education, whether it's community, whatever it is, participate. If you can participate, the world around you gets greater and greater and greater, and then you get to learn yourself. So in the mighty words of Christ and Sister King, if no one told you today, God loves you, and so do I. Peace.
Absolutely. We know that slogan, people pay attention to people who participate. Thank you so much. And that is absolutely true. Thank you, Councilmember King. BREAION King, words of wisdom, anything you can lead for our audience.
Dare to be deviant. So it's okay to be different. It is okay to be out of the box and not be like anybody else. It's okay to be you. Love yourself. It is okay to love yourself. And my biggest thing is write your words, tell your story. Everybody does not know your story. We need you here to express yourself and to tell your story. Does that make sense?
I love that. Thank you so much. Write your words and tell your story. Make sure you all are taking that mental note or writing it down. Thank you, Ms. King. Shania?
I would say for those who are struggling with self-image at all, look beyond the reflection. When you look in the mirror, don't just see what's physically in front of you. Look beyond it. Look inside within yourself. I would also say open up your mind. Don't stay inside of a box. Don't let yourself stay by what your school teaches you. Go search out for information in your history, because there's a lot that they're not telling us. Even with the museums that have our information that we don't know. So I would say seek out information, get knowledge, grow within yourself, and just be the best person you can be.
Thank you so much, Shania and Katelyn.
Listen and strive to understand, because we all have different stories, different backgrounds, religions, race, but we have to, if we want to love and create a loving society, listen to each other and understand each other's backgrounds and pasts. Not just understand, embrace difference, embrace each other, and embrace love.
Thank you so much, Katelyn. That was very well said. And thank you just for wrapping that up for all of us. I think that the common theme today is love, that we can conquer systemic racism and we can get through this and we can heal. And if we embrace love, if we embrace one another, regardless of our skin color, we have all been made by God, right? And so, you know, in God, there is no black or white. That's a man-made thing. It's not even scientific. It's not biological. It's something that was made by man. It is a social construct and it is systemic. And so bottom line is love. So we love all of you. Those of you that are watching, thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. We want to say that we appreciate you, we value you, and we love all of you. And so at this time, I'm going to have Sam come in and thank our panelists. And Sam, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Okay. I would like to thank Mr. King, Miss King, Miss Chisholm, and Miss Kai for speaking about these topics that need to be heard and not silenced. I appreciate you for giving your insight on these events and everything. And I thank you for coming out, because you don't have to be here today, but you chose to be here, and I appreciate that a lot. And thank you for being inspiring and enlightening and like opening our minds to different things that are happening around the world, specifically in America, but everywhere in general. And thank you for allowing us to like take our first few steps to breaking down systemic racism. That's all. Have a blessed day.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You're well on your way, sweet girl. You're well on your way, baby.
And we'd like to introduce our Executive Director, Letitia Stewart, who's going to be doing a quick thank you to our volunteers. And following after, we'll have our Program Director, Catherine Campbell.
So thank you so much to everybody for participating this evening. I have to say I will certainly sleep well tonight. I don't know about everyone else, but just knowing that people like Councilman King, Ms. King, Ms. Chisholm, and Ms. Kai are out there, and that they're actually talking to people. They are spreading their words of love and of encouragement. And that is exactly what is needed to bring us all together. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed everything that you all had to say. We really want to give a special thanks to those who helped to make this event possible, to pull these things together. So our volunteers in helping in this event, Ms. St. Julian, we thank you for Ms. Angel Chapwama. We thank you as well. Andre Robles, we thank you. Katelyn, Kai, who was one of our panelists, we thank you for your help. Michelle Rubin, Alexandra DeGenaria, Natalia, sorry about that, Natalia Puget, sorry, Natalia. Christy Pitchford, Allison Sprague, Chloe Klingon, Maddie Moore, and our wonderful IT person who helped to pull all of this technology together and this Zoom event together, Ms. Crystal O'Rourke. Thank you so much for everything that you did in making this a really great and wonderful event for all attendees. We really appreciate all of your help. You all were amazing. And we thank you so much for coming to iRaise and helping out with this event.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Letitia. And I would like to thank everyone else who came on. You guys are phenomenal. The webinar was extremely phenomenal. Ms. King, Mrs. King, you are a delight. You are phenomenal. You have a beautiful soul and spirit, and you're going to keep doing great things. Andy King, thank you, because I know you are a very busy man, and you always support iRaise, so I would like to thank you as well. Shania and Katelyn and Samantha as well. You're a phenomenal young ladies. So thank you guys for even having this and letting me be a part of this. And without further ado, I just want to go ahead and just talk to you briefly 1 minute about some of the programs that we are doing here in iRaise. And I am the program director of iRaise, and I've been overseeing a lot of different programs with COVID-19, and as well as our summer programs. Some of our virtual team programs and workshops that we are now offering beginning July 5th until August 28th is our summer 2020 workshops, getting teens into getting them into college, doing time management, high school prep, interacting with the city. We have wellness workshops, we have time management and productivity, we have financial, we have professional development. We also have programs for the teens with Black history, so reimagine Black history. You guys should go ahead, and if y'all know someone, spread the word, take part in it, spread the word to so many youth that are out there in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, wherever they're from. Just spread the word. We also have summer sessions for the younger kids, and some of the summer sessions that we do have is music, music with ballet, with dance, as well as musical theater, literacy, creative writing. We have art, we have kickboxing, one-on-one tutoring, one-on-one mentoring, and we also have meditation, yoga. So if you guys know a youth that are out there and that can benefit from these programs, I urge you guys to spread the word. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. We're on Facebook underneath I Raise Girls and Boys International. We're under Instagram under I Raise Inc. Also, a lot of our programs are, majority of our programs, all of our programs are free. So we want to keep giving these benefits and giving these programs to children. So I urge you guys to go online and donate. You can donate at www.iraisinc.org, or you can text iRaise at 7177 and just text donate, and you can donate any amount. I urge you guys to make a donation. We want to continue to give all these great and free services to the children in the New York City communities. So yes, please text donate, text iRaise to 71777, or by visiting our website at www.iraisinc.org, and you can also donate on Facebook as well. So thank you guys for coming on board. Thank you everyone who, all the panelist speakers. Thank you, Ms. Shanequa Moore, for having this phenomenal event. It's been such a pleasure, and I am so grateful just to take part of this organization as well as this event. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, Ms. Campbell. Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Thank you to our volunteers, and especially thank you to our panelists, Councilmember King, Mrs. BREAION King, Shania Chisholm, and Katelyn Kai. We love all of you. We are so honored to have you in our presence today. Thank you so much. We wish you all a great night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Good night. Good night.
Jesus loves you all.
Good
Good night, everybody.